Stick with me to the end of the video and I'll show you a content studio suite that I built specifically for my school community. So with that, let's get started. So real quick, I just want to mention a few things. The difference between the regular Claude Chat and Claude Code is Claude Chat is more for like brainstorming and like one-off conversations. You know, you can do a lot with it, but you can't do nearly as much as you can with something like CoWork or especially Claude Code. Claude Code is a lot more robust. You can build tools with it. You know, it can interact with your operating system, stuff like that. So creating content without it, just like in a normal way, like using chat or something like that, would be like what you see on the screen here is basically just writing something into the chat window, getting a response, copying it into a doc, fixing the formatting, and then you're saving it, and then you have to do it over and over again to post it on different platforms. So what I'm going to do is I'll show you a demo. First demo I'll show you is how to turn a rough idea into a real post and how Claude Code can save it for you. And then the second thing I want to do is show you how to repurpose content, like a LinkedIn post, email, captions, things like that. So these are some of the mistakes that beginners make. Being too vague, you know, trying to automate everything right from the beginning, not reading stuff and not checking it before it goes out, like not running it through like some kind of a voice, you know, checker like I was showing in some of my earlier videos, how to repurpose things in your own voice. So the way you would get started, kind of like a high-level overview, is basically the easiest way to do it for beginners is to go into Claude Code on the desktop app, and then you can point it at a folder. You pick a task, you give it a task, and then you just describe it clearly and you run it. And I'll go ahead and I'll get to mine quickly here in a second, and I will give you a couple of demonstrations on how you would use it. All right, so the first thing you'll want to do is once you get into Claude Code, make sure you choose your model. I just have mine on Sonnet 5 for now, you know, Opus 4.8 and then Fable 5. They use a lot more tokens. So just for demonstration purposes, I use Sonnet 5. And what I'll do is I took a script, which was kind of like supposed to be like from a coaching, you know, a coaching meeting, like a 30-minute meeting between a coach and a client. And what I did was I put it into a newly created folder called New Projects. And in that, what I'll do is I'm going to turn that whole conversation, it's a text file, basically a conversation from that, and I'll turn it into a LinkedIn post. This is a way to get ideas for a LinkedIn post. And by the way, you could also technically hit the plus button and you could just add the file yourself, but I'll show you real quick. It's actually a markdown file. And this is just as an example file to show you what you could do. You know, someone has like a transcript like this, you know, you're a coach or you're a consultant online and you record your calls, you get the transcript from it. This is just an example. So you would take a file like this, you would either have it in the folder or you would just upload it directly to Claude Code, and you would put in something like this. Using the transcript file inside this folder, create 3 LinkedIn posts, each with a different angle or main idea. And you would go ahead and send that off. And ideally, you would also want to either run this through your like a voice analyzer to make it in your own voice after you get the posts. So after it's done, I'll go ahead and show you what it comes up with. All right, it's finished, and it came back with 3, just like I asked it to, 3 different posts here. Post 1, post 2, post 3. So it even gives you the follow-up. Want me to punch up any hook, make one more tactical list style, or adapt the voice to sound more like a specific person, yours or a coach persona. So I already have the skill built in here. I'll go ahead and I'll link in the description the video that I did a couple of videos back showing how you can create your own skill like I did. I created the brand voice skill. So what I'll do is I'll grab this post here and copy it. Actually, what I'll do is I'll go ahead and say take post 2 and adapt it into my own voice. And then after it does that, I'll show you how you can just save it directly by just typing in a command and it'll save it as a file. You can save it as whatever you want, a text file, markdown file. So take post 2 and adapt it into my own voice. And as you can see, I have the brand voice skill already here. So go ahead and send that off. And let's see what it comes up with. So it came back, and what it did was it read this examples.md file, which was a file that's in the folder, one of the main folders in Claude for the skills that I have in there, because I have a whole bunch of skills inside Claude that I use. And what it did was it used this file. This was the original version of the file from when I first started my YouTube channel over about a year and a half ago. So what I did was I went back in and updated this. So the first version, it came up with this here, and this was what it did in my own voice. So after I updated this examples file, I actually came in here and I said reread examples.md, and I gave it the folders that it's in. And then I said rewrite post 2 using my brand voice skill, and then it rewrote it again, which was kind of like an updated version. So what I could do is, and before I save it, I'll just show you. So this actually was from like a fake transcript of a coach, a business coach, trying to talk to somebody who's like a VP of ops at a fictional company, basically showing like what they're spending their time doing. And you can see right here, she'd already built the system to catch real problems. She just stopped trusting it. So it's basically showing that this person was like spending way too much time doing stuff below her that she shouldn't have been doing. So I guess the coach was kind of like trying to help her kind of like pick out the more important stuff to do. So what I'll do is I'll say save this response as a markdown file and a .text file. And what it'll do, and what you could do with this is if you want it in your downloads folder, for example, you want to know where it's saved to, what you would do is you would open, you'd go into downloads here, you'd go on the top and hit copy like that, and you would say save it, save those files. Let me type it correctly. Save those files in this folder, colon, and then you would just paste in downloads here, which actually, if I really wanted to do it correctly and I went into downloads, I would say C and then users, go into the correct one and then scroll down to downloads, and that would be somewhere around here. There it is. Go like that, copy it, and then come back here and paste it in correctly. Or if you already knew this, you could just type it out. So then I will hit go ahead and send that off. And what it's going to do now is it's going to go ahead and save these as the type of files that I wanted, and then they will appear in the downloads. So it actually finished and it saved both of the files into the downloads folder. I'll show you that right here. As you can see, here is the markdown file version, and here is the text file version, which is just a simple text file that you can open up and then you could read yourself. So what I'll do now is the second thing I wanted to do is I'll show you exactly how to use these files. And what you could do is you could take any file that's in any folder like this and you could use it for whatever kind of repurposing that you need to do. So you could repurpose this stuff into like a LinkedIn or sorry, not a LinkedIn, a TikTok or community post on school or on YouTube or what kind of, posting you want to do. So I'll go ahead and show you that here in a second. Just a quick side note, if you don't want to type in anything or copy paste anything, you could actually just click the microphone and just hold it down, and then you could just tell it what you want it to do. So the way you would repurpose this content is, since it's already in the folder and you could just use it already. So what I did was I created this right here. This is a quick little prompt that says using the same file, repurpose them for the following formats. Actually, I will put in it instead. Using the same file, repurpose it for the following formats: Instagram and short email. After that, I put save each in the same folder, label them as the corresponding format that they're in. So I'll go ahead and I will send that off. And once it comes up with the answers and saves the files in the folder, I will show you exactly what it came up with. All right, it's finished. And you can see right here, it called this one Instagram, delegation, and short email, and then it called it post 2 because that's the original post of the 3 repurposed LinkedIn post from the original transcript that you saw me do a few minutes ago here. So you could technically just go straight into the folder and you could see right here what it did. And you can open them up here, obviously, or you can do this and just say display each of the files you just created in the chat here. And I'll just put here before that, here in the chat. And then I'll just delete here at the end and go ahead and send that off. And then it'll, as you can see, it'll just go ahead and it'll give you the exact files just so you can see them here without you having to double click and find where they're at. But, you know, it's easy enough to do, so you can do this however you want. I just wanted to give a quick preview of this tool that I built. It's basically like a content studio, like a planner type tool. So I put in some, you know, just some data in here just as examples to show for different platforms so you could see. This is the dashboard here. So this would show the different platforms, the content pillars, you know, focus areas. What happens is this actually asks you some questions in the beginning. And I'll show that here in a minute after I show you how this is actually, how it kind of works. The questions actually are asked before you even get to this part, kind of like to set up the studio, you know, to name it and to put your name in, stuff like that. So this gives you at a glance here, shows you any kind of, you know, activity in whatever month the activity's in. This is a calendar. So some of the stuff I put in, like right here, teaching Claude, I just put this in as an example, you know, and it'll pop up here. You can also add manually here. Also up to the top right hand side, you could put in your picture if you want. So like upload photo. I'll upload, let's see, from my desktop here just to show you, and I'll save it. You could just rename right here. You could rename the whole studio name. I'll just hit save. Here, up here is the different themes. So you've got midnight, what we're in. You've got the noir. You got the espresso, cool stone. These are some of the lighter themes. It just changes the accents on the lighter themes. So like if you click it, you can see it turns green. I'd rather do the dark ones. It's better on the eyes. This is the weekly planner. So this will show any content for the week. You could go previous or next week right here. This would show like a 30-day. And it also shows whatever photo you put. So it'll show, you know, if it's scheduled, you know, all the type of content it is. It tags if it's what the platform is. So like this one's Instagram. This one's for Threads. So it shows the photos here. So you kind of get the idea. You know, you can see the current month. You could also add through here, add content. You can change it by the month. So next month, August, there's nothing. You know, you click back to July. It's also got years here. This is the feed preview of and it just basically just shows the photos. So the different photos I have attached to the content itself, you know, and it shows LinkedIn, Threads, Instagram here. This is the content library. So after you add in the content here, you would choose, you know, the topic, the title, the different type it is. The pillar would be here. You could have it as a draft, scheduled, published, idea. You know, you would choose the date here, choose the priority. You could give it a name. Also, this is optional. You don't have to do this. I'll show you in a second. You could put in your API keys. You would just describe what the post is about, and you would generate, and it would generate a caption, the hashtags, and the call to action for you. And then, you know, you could tweak those as if you want, as you know, as you see fit. You could add in some notes here. This image link really doesn't work. It was an option. I kind of changed it. What you would do is you would just hit upload photo, and then you would just upload the photo there and save it, and it would pop up here. Then what you would do is you would go in and edit it if you wanted to. So like as you can see here, I have it. I have everything filled in. I have the caption, you know, call to action, hashtags, everything. I have the photo. You could remove the photo if you want. I'll just make this bigger really quick. You know, you could duplicate it with this one. You could actually just delete it here. You could choose the view here by platform. So like if I just want to see, you know, Instagram, it would just show the Instagram, different pillars. You could choose by newest, oldest, title. This is the ideas vault. This is for just ideas that you might have that you don't want to turn into content as of yet. You could just click new idea and you can just fill in all this information here, you know, by platform, the type, the content pillar, you know, the notes in here. And then you could convert it into content. You click convert and it'll pop up here in the content library. So this is just the idea, you know, you could right here, edit button, same thing. Caption bank, if you wanted to add a caption for any reason. Again, optional. You don't have to use AI if you don't want. You would just give it a title, choose the platform, choose the category, any kind of whatever the caption is here, call to action, and any kind of notes right there. This is just a hashtag bank. Same thing. You could choose to generate it with AI if you wanted. You could just name it here, choose whatever platform you wanted, and then you would just put in the hashtags here, and then any notes if you wanted, and then you would just save it. So that's the content in the overview there. This is the strategy section, so platform planner. So I have Instagram, Threads, and LinkedIn all set on the calendar as I showed you earlier. So whatever you have set to be posted, like whatever you're going to use in the near future, it would show up here in any of these. And this gives you kind of like a little overview, like a graph here. Platform content mix. These are the pillars. You can add in your own pillar. You could delete a pillar here. Manage pillar. Right here, you can add a custom pillar and add it in. So like test, I hit add and save, and you can see it populates here. You can get rid of it, and it's gone. Analytics is like an overview, kind of like a graph, shows you the different posts by platform. Content status mix, the mixture of different platforms that you would be posting on. You can see that here. Here's the monthly posting activity of the last 6 months. Goals and consistency is right here. So goals and consistency, it shows your monthly goals this week. Posting streak. And this is kind of like a little reminder that it gives you. And this shows your posting streak here. This is the settings. So again, when you click these, it'll change the theme. It tells you here how autosaves works. This is the name, planner name. You can change the name if you want. You put your name, your brand niche, your monthly goal. These are kind of the questions that it goes through in the beginning, again, which I'll show you here in a minute. And then you can just come back here and change it if you want. So if you want to do like 12 posts a month, 3 times a week, your brand basics, your target audience, you can put your website in here, your core content and themes, your messaging. This is the data. So you clear the whole thing, you would export it or import it here, and it does not save your API keys. So keep those somewhere else. You could turn platforms on and off here. Like if you don't want these platforms active, as far as like the type of platforms you want to, or the actual platforms that you want to be posting to, and then you would just save it. And that's how you would save this stuff as well. After you fill everything in, you would just come up here and hit save changes. Here is the API mode. Again, anybody who gets this tool can change it. This is just an HTML file. You can actually add in providers. You could delete providers. So like if I wanted Anthropic, I would save my Anthropic key in here, save the key, and I would save it as active. So any AI generation throughout the tool, it would use just Anthropic. You would also do this, test connection, and it's successful. The first time you do it, it might take a few seconds. And by the way, after you save everything and you come back into it, it won't show the key here, but this is where you would paste it and save it. And that's just to give you an idea of how the API works. And then of course, here is the help and about, how the planner works. And you could read this. It'll also have a PDF version of this, a PDF file on the different sections and how to use this planner. So I'm going to be putting this planner into my school community. So if you want access, you can join the community. It's free, and I'm going to have it in the classroom section under one. I'm not sure which section it'll be under, but it'll be pretty easy to find. I'm just going to call it Content Studio. So I'll have this video probably posted just to show anybody who wants to use it or download it how to use it. And you could use this tool. It's pretty good to just to keep track of the content that you're going to post and everything you have planned up and coming. So hopefully you get a hold of this tool, as it could be a pretty good help, I think, to somebody that wants to plan out their content, basically. So really quickly, this is what will happen when you first open it up brand new. It'll ask you your name, your niche, and what do you want to call it. So what I'll do is I'll just put my name, and then I'll put my niche, which is Claude for content creation, my content studio. I'll just call it that. I'll hit continue, and it'll ask you what platforms you want to use. I'm just going to click all of them, and then I'll hit save or continue. And then what are your content pillars? And it gives you all this choice here. So for me, it would be like education, tips and tricks, engagement, and I guess promotion maybe. And then this is the monthly goals. So like I was showing you in the settings a couple minutes ago, you could choose, do you want to do the whole month? Do you want to do, 2 per week, 5 per week? You could do 4 per week, 16 posts per month. And then it tells you, it auto saves everything in the browser, export a backup. And that will be it. So now once you get into it, then you can start putting in and saving whatever content that you plan to post right here. So overall, like you saw me demonstrate, it's a lot of time saving when you do stuff in Claude Cowork and Claude Code like this. It's just the difference is that Claude Code is more robust. You can kind of take all this stuff and you can like build tools out of it. Like you could build content repurposing tools, things like that, like I've shown in some of my previous videos. So hopefully this gave you some kind of an idea of what this type of thing can do for you if you use it correctly. It'll save you tons of time every day, every week, or however much that you create your own content for based on whatever niche you're in. So with that, I will end this one and I will see you in the next one.